Ancient Romans. The Greeks made many medical advances, but in 146 BC, Greece was conquered by the Roman.
All right, so ancient Romans. I'm trying to think of anything on here. All right, so we know that we've been going back and forth with medicine. So the Greeks made medical advances. In 146 BC, Greece was conquered by the Roman Empire. The Romans did not accept the medical practices of the Greeks. The teachings of Hippocrates were forgotten, and medicine returned its focus to supernatural causes and spirits. So in the mid 100s AD, after death, you have a physician that was Greek named Claudius Galen. He went to Rome, and he quickly became famous for curing the emperor's stomachache. He reintroduced the ideas of Hippocrates to the Romans. He ignored the practice of careful observation and note-taking. Instead, he taught that the body was composed of four fluids. If the fluids became unbalanced, sickness would occur. He also developed theories of human anatomy by dissecting pigs. Many of Galen's theories were flawed, and true medical progress was held back for centuries. As a result of his theories, the Romans contributed very little to medical advancement, so they didn't do much in medicine. One thing they did do, however, they recognized that disease was often caused by filth and overcrowding, so they installed superior drainage sanitation systems and also set up public hospitals. So that's when the hospitals start coming into play. I guess we did go through this.
Epidemics and
We're gonna go through the Middle Ages.
What you'll learn.
Renaissance.
Middle Ages.
Alright, so when the Middle Ages began around 800 after death, that's AD, several cultures started researching medicine again. Progress was slow. By 1000 AD, the Muslim Arab Empire had started a medical revival. The Arabs' vast knowledge of chemistry led to advancements in pharmacology, that is the study of drugs or the study of medicine, and their uses. They also set up a system of hospitals with specialized wards for certain illnesses. So, in the ancient times, the Romans were setting up the first hospitals. So now, you got hospitals that have specialized things. So they have different, surgeries. Like you have a ward for, how they have it now. Like they have ICUs for certain things. Like if you have heart problems or heart surgery, then you go to that ICU. So that's what they start setting up. Then you had this physician or doctor named Rhazes, became known as the Arab Hippocrates. Through careful observation of the human body, he discovered that blood was the cause of many infectious diseases. He developed the first forms of stitches using animal gut sutures to sew wounds. Another major medical advance in the Middle Ages was the founding of the first true medical school. It was located in Salerno, Italy, and it was open to all nationalities. It taught anatomy and surgery based on the study of Hippocrates and Galen. Anatomy was limited because students were forced to dissect animals. In most parts of the world, human dissection was illegal. So that's where it came. We knew that you could not dissect humans. Now it's different. You can dissect humans. I know when I went to UAB, we had an anatomy lab that had human bodies, whole bodies, body parts. You can study this, study that. So now, especially these teaching hospitals, they have these things. Back then, it was illegal. Because people donate. Some people will donate their body to science, so people can research, study things, develop cures, all that kind of stuff. In the Middle Ages, medical doctors treated only the wealthy. As a result, common people received medical treatment from barbers. Although barbers were not trained in medical procedures, they often performed surgery, like amputation, so that's when you cut off like a body part, and cataracts. Cataracts operations, cataracts have to do with your eyes. Their methods were unsanitary, and many patients developed infections or died. So they wasn't sterilizing, they wasn't disinfecting things, they were just cutting off people's body parts and messing with their eyes. And they were not physicians or doctors, they were barbers, people that cut hair. So people were dying because of this. In the Middle Ages, the Arabs expanded the field of pharmacology. I heard a true and I heard a false. Who said true? Said it in her head. The first medical school practiced human dissection. False. In the Middle Ages, the most common people received medical treatments from who? Barbers. People that cut hair. Y'all want y'all barber to chop off your arms? What I call y'all the first day of school? Or first day of class? When y'all not supposed to go? I'm gonna let you go, but I want y'all to remember. Well, y'all remember? When I'm teaching, you're not supposed to go? You're gonna miss it. Alright, so barbers. So y'all boys, y'all let y'all barber cut y'all leg off? What did I tell you? No? Y'all let them leave that chalk on y'all face, y'all head? Y'all won't let them. That's still. I don't think it's cute. Huh?
That's a whole different thing.
It's your barber. You trust him with your head?
I don't trust my hair.
Didn't I say take that out your ear? We'll take it off from around your ear because it looks close to your ear. Unless you want me to have a phone and some earbuds. I don't think so.
Middle Ages.
Alright,
Black Death.
alright. So we talked about the bubonic plague last week. It struck the world a second time in the 1300s. Hopefully, we're in a pandemic right now. Hopefully, I mean, this is never ending at the moment, but hopefully we'll get a handle on it soon and it won't strike again. But the bubonic plague came back a second time. So between 1347 and 1352, over 1/3 of Europe's population died. This wave of the plague was called the Black Death. Because of the lack of medical progress in Europe, the cause of the Black Death was unknown for many years. It was later determined that the fatal disease was caused by a bacteria that's transmitted by the fleas of infected rats. The Black Death was devastating for Europe. However, fear of the plague caused many Europeans to challenge the belief that religion could cure disease. So back then, 1300s, they didn't have as many medical advances as we have now. Although Corona or COVID is, we're still trying to figure it out, but we have more, technology and advances. What is one positive result of the Black Death? Huh? I got the last one. I hear somebody say the first one. Oh, who said the last one? Right. So they questioned. Remember, they've been going back and forth with. It was supernatural. It was religion. It was blood or the systems of the body. So they're going back and forth. They don't really know. But now at this point, they're questioning religion.
The Renaissance.
All right. So the Renaissance, which began around 1350, was a time of enlightenment. Renaissance, time of enlightenment. Yeah. Europeans began to reject their commitment to religion. They developed new ideas about science and the arts. Several medical researchers stole corpses in order to dissect them. So remember, it was illegal to dissect human bodies, but now we got people that are stealing them because they know in order to figure out what was going on, they didn't need animals because animals and humans, don't look the same. We don't have everything the same. So they needed to try to get some human bodies. So they had an autonomous name, Andreas Vesalius. that compared the human corpse to the human anatomy that Claudius Galen had described in his teachings. Remember, Galen used animals; he didn't have human bodies. So this is when Vesalius realized that it was based off an animal and not a human. So in the mid 1500s, he published the first human anatomy book, which exposed Galen's many errors. Another major breakthrough during the Renaissance was the invention of the microscope. Anton von Leeuwenhoek created a single lens microscope in the mid 1600s. So this is around the time that the microscope was invented, was 1600s. It led to the discovery of red blood cells. You know, those little red circular things in our body. You got red blood cells, you got white blood cells. A few years later, Robert Hooke developed a more powerful compound lens microscope. So Hooke's microscope proved that all living things are made of cells, which is what we know today. What is the name of the time period in which many Europeans began to reject their commitments to religion and form new ideas about art and science? Renaissance. Also, it's the time of the period of enlightenment. Which invention allowed scientists to discover cells? Microscope.
Result of the Middle Ages.
Alright, so important medical advances were made during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. However, the cause of disease was still a mystery. Many people developed infections and died young. The typical lifespan was only about 40 years. Despite the lack of understanding, the general attitude resulting from the Middle Ages and the Renaissance was one of intellect and reason. In the field of medicine, reason took the place of religion and superstition. So now we're back to talking about reason instead of religion. Remember, they started doubting religion, and now we're back to reason. All because of the Renaissance. Sorry. Alright, the cause of disease was understood in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. What was the general attitude of those living in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance? Are religious, and I heard somebody said something else. Somebody said intellect and reason. Right. The whole part of the Renaissance is intellect and reason. Enlightenment. Alright. Let's see if y'all can get it. Middle Ages and Renaissance. So tell me what goes where. Microscope is in Renaissance. Okay. Time of enlightenment. Okay. The what? Oh, Renaissance. Okay. Huh? So I'm gonna say what? This was Middle Ages? Yeah, somebody, who said that? Yeah, somebody said it. I don't know who, but I heard it. Okay, y'all got two more. First medical school was open. Muslims create a medical revival. I heard the Middle Ages. Right.
Lesson summary. In this lesson, you learned that.
Alright, so now
What
we're
you'll
talk
learn.
about
After you
Industrial Revolution and the modern era. Alright, so we're going to identify medical contributions from the Industrial Revolution and the modern era. Recognize how the link between structures and function was important to medical progress. Describe how technology has improved medical treatment.
the Industrial Revolution.
Alright, so the age of reason we know it began in the Renaissance era. It had a great effect on the subsequent centuries, so everything after it had an effect on it. Human curiosity and experimentation led to the Industrial Revolution of the 1700s and 1800s. This time of huge advances in chemistry and physics provided medicine with many new tools and methods. So, two of the most important discoveries of the Industrial Revolution were made by Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister. Pasteur was a chemist that worked in a winery. He began to determine what caused the wines to turn sour. So, using a microscope, he discovered that microorganisms were to blame. He then developed a system of heating and sealing to destroy these dangerous microbes. This process or procedure is known as pasteurization. So, pasteurization is what they do to milk and dairy stuff to get all the bad things out. So, that is named after Louis Pasteur. Lister was a surgeon in England in the 1800s. He was frustrated by the many infections his patient acquired after surgery. Because remember, they wasn't disinfected and using sterile techniques, all the things we do today to try to prevent infection. With the help of Pasteur's research, Lister discovered that microorganisms were responsible for infection in people. And we learned that last lesson when we talked about infection control, because you have that causative agent that causes somebody to have an infection. Continuing his studies, the surgeon developed methods of medical asepsis, that's cleaning procedures that kill microorganisms and help to eliminate infection. So cleaning, wiping things down, sterilizing, disinfecting, that's all part of medical asepsis.
Structure and function.
All right, so by the end of the Industrial Revolution, connections between the structure and function in an organism were finally known. This medical breakthrough led to many more discoveries. John Hunter inserted a feeding tube into a patient's stomach in 1778. So, I don't think they got a feeding tube in there. I don't see anything. Edward Jenner administered the first vaccination in 1796. So vaccinations have been around this long. William Beaumont fully described the digestive system in 1822. Anesthetics such as ether and chloroform were used to put patients to sleep during surgery in the mid 1800s. So how people get sedated, put under for surgeries and stuff, all this started around the mid 1800s. Ellie Marchinkoff explained how white blood cells protect humans from diseases in the early 1900s. Almost every discovery during this time led to another one. The Industrial Revolution paved the way for modern medical practices. So, all these things started to come to pass. Things that we use today, white blood cells. We know, like when you have an infection or some type of disease, your white blood cells or start increasing, trying to fight it off. They work with your immune system. You brought my lights all back? Okay. What major medical breakthrough was made during the Industrial Revolution? Connection between structure and function is realized. Right. What did John Lister identify as a cause of infection in people? Microorganisms, correct.
The modern era.
All right, so now we're getting close to our times. So the modern era began in the early 1900s. The cause of infections and diseases were no longer a mystery. Scientists quickly developed treatments for many illnesses. In 1928, a major milestone was reached when, by accident, Sir Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. Penicillin is an antibiotic that is still used across the world to treat diseases caused by bacteria. Throughout the modern era, many other antibiotics and medicines have been developed. These medicines destroy disease-causing microorganisms. In turn, they have enabled people to lead longer, healthier lives in the 20th and 21st centuries. Wilhelm von Röntgen also contributed to medical progress by creating a tool that changed medical procedures forever. In the early 1900s, he developed the X-ray machine. This allowed physicians for the first time to diagnose illnesses and fractures without using invasive surgery. So this is an X-ray, and you can see, like, these are your ribs, your clavicle. You can see your vertebrae kind of from the back. There is a back, but you can see them. What else can you see? Like their spine, how it curves. You can see the top of like your arm right here, like the socket. But that was an advancement because before then, if you broke something, how was you gonna know? They just have to open you up and go in there and look to see. But now you can actually go in there with an X-ray. You can see, if they take an X-ray, you can actually see what's broken. Like my oldest daughter broke her clavicle one time, and when I took her to, we went to the emergency room. They did an X-ray, figured out it was broken. Then we had to see the surgeon. Well, it's nothing really they're gonna do for a broken clavicle, but he put up the X-ray for us to see, and they had like a little break in it.
Technological advancement.
All right, so the 20th century was filled with technological advances. The new technology produced rapid growth in the medical world. Francis Crick and James Watson identified the structure and function of DNA. Organs like kidneys and the heart were transplanted successfully from one body into another. Is anybody in here an organ donor that drives? Nobody? I'm the only organ donor in here. So once you die, or you can donate your organs to other people. You can donate eyeballs, you can donate kidneys, heart, lungs, liver, all this stuff. In vitro fertilization allow infertile couples to have children. So, in vitro is that IVF. If you ever hear people saying IVF, that's what it stands for, in vitro fertilization. Then you have childhood vaccinations, completely eliminated many viral diseases. So, you could get, when you're younger, you get a whole bunch of vaccinations once you're born. You get them like every few months, or then it starts like every year, and it kind of goes off. But they help to combat some diseases that were around before our time.
Health insurance.
As medical treatments and procedures became more advanced, healthcare delivery became more structured and organized. Health insurance plans were developed in the 1920s to help cover the cost of healthcare. The United States government developed Medicare and Medicaid to help elderly people and low-income families pay for healthcare. Hospitals were renovated and organized into specialized units. Examples of such units include emergency rooms, intensive care units, and pediatric units. Private clinics were also open to help care for certain illnesses. So all these things started coming into play. Like they have emergency rooms. Like we just opened in Auburn, they have like a freestanding emergency room now. Like we have East Alabama, which is in Opelika, but that's the big hospital that has like all the units and stuff. But they also just opened right off of, it's right there by the university. It's a freestanding like emergency room where you can go there instead of having to go to the hospital. And I forget about it, but it is there because they just opened like I think in July or something. The 20th century was filled with technological advances. Because the more advances are going to come around, the more time it is.
The future. The future of medicine is full of promise.
All right, so future medicine is full of promise. Discoveries are made almost every day. Medical innovation should be explored with great caution. However, healthcare workers must stay open-minded and flexible to adapt to new ideas. Even though I don't currently work at the bedside, I still have to keep up to date. Like I still have to take classes and stuff, so I'll know what's changing. We have to, since I'm a registered respiratory therapist, I have to keep up my license to work in the state of Alabama because I have to have it to teach. So I still have to renew. Like I gotta renew next month my Alabama license. So I have to take some classes, do some like seminars, webinars, or whatever, to make sure I keep it up to date. Because if it expires and I can't work in the state, so for each state that you work in, whether you're a doctor, a nurse, respiratory therapist, whatever you work in that field, in that medical field, you have to have a license to work there. I used to have a Georgia license because I worked in Georgia for many years, but once I got here, I didn't renew that one. So you have the scientific method. It's an approach to problem solving, and y'all have I'm sure heard of the scientific method before. So you have observation, the topic of the research or experimentation, whatever you have to solve. You research, you're going to learn about the topic, you have your hypothesis, that's what you think is going to happen. You're going to experiment, you're going to test out your hypothesis, you're going to collect your data, and then you're going to have analysis, that's studying the data, and you're going to have a conclusion. So you're going to compare your hypothesis with the results. All right, so we're going to drag and drop. So you got Middle Ages, Renaissance, you got Industrial Revolution, Ancient Times, and Modern Era. So what y'all think goes where? Modern. What structure and function? Structure and function. Okay, what's the last two? Good. What important approach should be applied in moving forward with medical research? Scientific method.
Lesson summary. In this lesson,
All right, so that's the end of the history of healthcare. No. No. All right, this is y'all's quiz. Y'all can log in. You ready? Reverend, what? Close it. Did you try to go back out and come back in? Huh? Good. Y'all ready? You want to still try to get in?
Oh, please.
I mean, I'm gonna know because I can look at it. I thought you like to see it. I said, Carla over there, get outside of it. I know.
Carla.
Yeah. You try like you know what's going on.
She's about I'm just in the office.
Why?
Oh,
What happened?
Sit right there.
What happened?
Why is the child like
What? You gotta put the thing up there.
I'm sitting right on the It was a rolling.
It's a what?
It's a rolling chair. Make sure y'all work like this. Well, I'm gonna do the coat thing. Alright, got the things now.
So what happened?
My mind wasn't blank.
Huh?
You
want to slow down.
You went by the information too fast. Didn't want to get right after. I ain't gonna move all that.
No, it wasn't no 5 seconds.
Yes,
It was 20 seconds.
It felt
It was 20 seconds. It said the 20 seconds. I said it all. Yeah.
well, can you set it to 30 seconds?
30 seconds too long.
Okay, we can do 20 again.
So what makes y'all think y'all gonna get it this time?
We
Because y'all looked at the answers. Oh, okay. I told y'all that one. I said y'all got a quiz today. Them kids told y'all had a quiz today.
Right down the. Yeah, but you ain't gonna remember all that information. That's what you're
Y'all had notes for last time too. Yeah,
Three
last week.
3 sentences.
I ain't lying. Because this quiz came directly from this website. So if like how we did last year, y'all would just go through it and I say take the quiz. It's the same thing. Is it not, Jayla? It's the same thing. Like except I'm reading it instead of y'all letting the little man read. See, I want the little man to read y'all. But it's the same thing. It's better than you reading, you can't read. Too many words. That's how you learn by reading. That's how you learn things. You remember. And so what they got it? Ain't my fault they scared of y'all for this period. It's early for me. I've been up since probably 3 o'clock.
Who fault is that?
It's not a fault. It's not a fault. But I'm just telling you, it's no excuse to not be on your game. It's not a fault. I'm just saying it's not an excuse to not be on your game. History of healthcare. That's just the first part. No, he need to redeem himself. Cause where you at? Oh, y'all don't want me to do that? Oh, my bad. Oh, my bad. I'm still gonna scroll when y'all leave. I'm gonna scroll cause I'm gonna look. Oh, that's logging in too quick this time. Hey, y'all asked for it. So this a grade? You got the same grade as me. Well, let's talk about all the missing grades you got in the grade book. What we gonna do?
I got night school.
You got night school for this class?
Air class.
Oh, this class right here ain't talking night school. Cause I'm the only one that teaches. Oh man. Oh yes. Y'all the one ask the class again. Is everybody here?
She's telling you to press R.
I know I'm doing
Alright, if y'all, if you didn't get to take it in class, I'm gonna post it on Schoology, like if you have your phone or whatever reason. Make sure you take it, cause it's gonna expire by end of the day on tomorrow. So if you did not take it in class, cause it's going in the grade book. I got that. I'm probably gonna get an average of.
You said where it's gonna be? Can we get the better school?